Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. Whoops. Getting my extra screen up here. Let's see a few eyeballs on here before we sit down and get crafting. Looks like I'm a tiny bit crooked here. See if that fixes everything. Nope, looks like it made it worse. Oh well, we're good to go. Hello, good evening, everyone. You may have been expecting Chris, because usually the first Tuesday of the month is our friend Crafty Chris. But we are shaking things up a little bit here in October. And for a variety of reasons, I am up and on deck for our Learning Live tonight. So good evening, everyone. It does look like I'm able to see comments, at least right now, so I will try to keep an eye on that. Please keep commenting, because then that means I can still see everything. We'll just give it another maybe 30 seconds for people to jump in, and then I'm going to kick off Fluffy Stuff Month. So we really want these learning lives to be exactly what the title says. We want them to be great learning sessions, and sometimes we just can't get all of our ideas across in the half hour, 45 minutes that we like to target for a learning live like this. So this month we're trying something new. We're going to try it again in November. We have picked something, and we are all going to take turns showing you something new with that product or that technique. So this month for October, we are going to be showcasing Fluffy Stuff. Fluffy Stuff is, well, it's an answer to probably one of the most asked questions that we get at this time of year, and that is because people are looking for stuff to make snow. Whether it's for a snowman, whether it's for Christmas cards, whether it is for snowflakes, people like to put snow on their cards. So to start off tonight, I've just got a piece of dark paper here that I am going to use to kind of demonstrate the basics of Fluffy Stuff. And then I have some cards that I have quickly whipped together. And I'm going to show you a few extra things and use Fluffy Stuff in context, so to speak. So we'll get back to that. Ignore my little post-it notes on there. Those are my cheat sheets. Then the rest of the month, so Alexis will be up next week on Tuesday, and she's got some, she's going to be using the Fluffy Stuff with some stamps and do some card making with it. And then Chris and Darlene both have some fun mixed media ideas for using with Fluffy Stuff. So keep coming back to us every Tuesday night. The replay will still be available here on Facebook, and I also download and move it over to YouTube. So there's lots of places you can watch this. All right, so down to the nitty gritty now that I've been chatting for a couple minutes. Fluffy Stuff, I don't even really know what to tell you that it is. It is I'm going to call it a mixed media product that is water-based. So if you do use it with, say, blending foams or a paintbrush or something like that, you can easily wash that with water. Just do it fairly quickly. Don't leave it overnight. You got to clean it pretty quickly. But what it does is once it's heated, it puffs up into this beautiful puffy textured medium. I have used it for snow. I have used it even for marshmallows. I remember doing a camp out layout where I had a big s'more or a big marshmallow that I was showcasing, and actually I meant to grab that as well. I'm gonna maybe get to that in a minute, because you can put ink on this stuff as well. So you can use it for anything where you want some white puff or dimension. And if you want it colored, again, the girls later on in the month are going to show you some of that. It comes in this cute little bottle, and just make sure it says Fluffy Stuff down here because it is the same bottle as our Flake and Glitter glue, and I think there is another product that uses this same bottle. It's got a attached cap, so you're never going to lose it. And I am just going to squeeze it out here on this dark paper and show you what it looks like before we heat it. So there's just a white blob. Maybe we'll do a couple of blobs. Let's do a squiggle. And you can use this, you know, for writing. You can use it for shapes. So maybe I will do a nice heart here. And when you look at it closely, it really just looks like it almost looks like white glue. But it's not, because this is where the magic is going to happen. Now off camera here, I do have both of my heat guns. I have my regular embossing heat gun that I would use for embossing powders. This does have two settings because you do want to be careful that you don't scorch this. Unless you do want more of that, you know, toasted marshmallow look, then, sorry, I'm reading questions. You want to be able to gauge the heat. So I do also have my Ranger heat tool as well, and we'll see what the difference is. I am seeing a few questions here. Can it be used near photos in scrapbooking? If you want to use it near a photo in scrapbooking, what I would do is heat it and create it first, because the heat gun will melt your photos. It's got nothing to do with the product. It has everything to do with the heat. And I do tell you that with 100% certainty because I've done it. Deb is asking, true or false, Fluffy Stuff is affected by temperature, e.g. when in winter mail. That one I do not know the answer to, Deb. I can look that up afterwards and get back to you on that. What I do know is that even after we heat it tonight, it is best to leave it overnight to really set, because it will, it can get crushed if you lay things on top of it. I'm sorry, I dropped something over here when I was moving my cords. So, all right, so I'm going to start with the embossing heat gun. So please don't mind the noise. I'm going to start on low heat. My heat gun does have the dual heats. Actually, maybe I'm going to try with high heat, and let's see what happens with this. And again, please forgive me. It's going to be noisy for a second. There we go. You could use this for popcorn. Look at how that all pops up. And sometimes it just takes a minute or two in order to get that going. Let's see if I can bring it up even closer to the camera here. There we go. You can see how it's got all that bubbly texture to it. And like I said, you could use it for popcorn, you can use it for snowballs, you can use it for the pom-pom on a winter hat. But like I was saying, you do want to make sure you let it set, because right now it's still wet. It's still not set. So you can see how I could easily smush it down. And then as it dries and as it sets, it's going to keep its shape a little bit longer. As with anything, when you're doing something big and dimensional like this, you really do want to leave it to have that time to set, because the inside is still going to be soft and gushy. I'm now going to switch over to my Ranger tool just to see what the difference is when you use a lower heat setting. This one is also a lot quieter. Just let it heat up for a second. Let's see if I can bring it up here without knocking over everything that's here in my space. All right, so this low heat is taking a little bit longer. What you will notice, and again, I'm not sure if it's showing up well on camera, as it's going, oh, you can see that little squiggly part going over. As it starts to dry out, the medium will lose its glossiness and it'll take on like a matte finish, and then it will start to bubble. So it's looking like this lower heat. We just have to make sure we heat it and keep moving it around, and it just takes a little bit longer with that low heat, but look how fun that is. If you're doing something delicate, make sure you have tweezers. All right, I'm impatient, so I'm gonna switch to the other heat gun. And you can see the more that you heat it, the more it expands. So how fun is that? Okay, I'm just gonna let it cool for a little bit. Like I said, you don't want to touch it too much, though that one's working better than these pom-poms did. And again, you do want to make sure that you don't put it in an envelope or put it in your photo album or your scrapbook album or anything until this is completely set. So that is the nuts and bolts of fluffy stuff. I'm just gonna grab some ink because I do want to show you one other thing. So I've just grabbed some yellow ink, because if you do want to change the color on some of this, you can very easily just apply the ink to the surface. I've just grabbed a blending foam. That's what I had handy. Ideally, I would have put it on a handle, but I don't seem to have one handy. Just going to ink that up. Whoops. And yeah, you do have to be gentle with it. Dabbing is better than rubbing. But see how I've just changed that surface color to that yellow, and you can change it to anything you want. Again, best if you leave it until it is completely set. So that's what I did way back when I did my s'mores, my marshmallow. Oh, now I've got some fluffy stuff on my ink pad. I can clean that up afterwards. Is I did the white puff, and then I took like a light brown and making a mess of that. Let's put that away. I just took a sponge and I took some light brown and just kind of put it around the edges to give it that toasty look. One other thing you can do with it that I'm going to show you tonight is that you can add glitter. So I am going to just put another little squiggle of this out and show you. So there is just the fluffy stuff, and I've got some of the Ranger Tim Holtz rock candy. I'm just going to take just a little pinch and sprinkle it on my fluffy stuff. There's a little piece over here that didn't get some. Tap off my excess. So because it's a liquid medium, you know, that glitter is really sticking to that fluffy stuff. And then I'm going to heat it up. And now we have puffy, glittery stuff. So Wendy just made a comment that it reminds her of a product called Liquid Applique. And Wendy, I would say with 95% certainty, this is the same stuff. Just a different brand, different company that has made it. There's probably some small differences, but yes, it is very similar to liquid applique that you may have used in the past. Liquid applique is actually still around, and we do have maybe 1 or 2 bottles in the store, but you get a lot more with this, and I like that it's the bigger bottle, because when the girls show you some other techniques, it's a lot easier to kind of unscrew the cap and dump a whole bunch of it out, as opposed to trying to squeeze it out of the pen from the liquid applique. So those are the basic techniques. Let me show you fluffy stuff in action. All right, I'm going to put this off to the side. So I have made up 4 little cards. I grabbed, where did it go? I grabbed the brand new Christmas Salutations Mega Pad from Echo Park. I am so in love with these Salutations lines. Lots of great sentiments, lots of great pattern papers, and it was really easy to whip up some really simple cards that we are now going to amp up with a little bit of fluffy stuff. So this is just a really simple card using a cut apart for my sentiment, but I'm going to add some extra dimension because I am going to just kind of accent it. I'm going to put a dot here. I'm going to put a dot here at the edges of those fans. I think I'm going to come just kind of around the whole background here and just add some little white dots that we're then going to puff up. And I do apologize, as much as I said I was seeing comments before, this new Facebook setup, they show me the comments for a while and then they seem to vanish. So I'm trying to keep touching my screen, I'm trying to keep an eye on it, but if I happen to miss your question, I will definitely go back afterwards and answer those. So just some basic little drops, and now let's give them some puff. Keep your gun moving, you don't want it to scorch. There they go, you'll see the magic happening. And with dots like these, you want to try and come at the little dots from both sides so that you get puff happening on both sides. So there you go, and the longer you puff them, or the longer you heat them, the more they puff. So some of these didn't get quite as much heat as some of these bigger ones, but look how cute that makes. It almost makes you want to cuddle it. It looks very soft and fuzzy. So while it's still warm, I'm just going to set it aside so it can all set. I don't want to be touching it like I was touching some of that other stuff. Again, if you wanted that little bit of sparkle, you would want to do that before you heat it so that it sets in the liquid. All right, so that is number 1. Number 2, I've got this cute little card here. And I thought it would be fun to try and play with using the fluffy stuff in this word holidays to see if we can make that puffy. So I'm going to try and really carefully, this gives you a decent narrow bead. You don't want it too thick, but I also don't want it too thin. Try not to let your nozzle touch the ground, so to speak. You want a good coverage of that liquid as it goes on. And I'm just gonna write with it, trace those outlines with all of you watching me. Don't forget the dot, or the tittle as it's called. I know back in the day with liquid applique, you also got a really good result if you let it sit overnight before you heated it. I have not tried that here with the fluffy stuff, but know that you don't have to heat it right away. You can let it sit for a little while. The other thing I will call attention to is over time, it may start to lose a little bit of its whiteness and go a little bit on the creamier side. But just know that when you put the heat to it, it is going to change it back to that nice snowy white that we are looking for. All right, mind the noise. I'm going to puff up the holidays. And so with this one, I didn't want to puff it too much because I don't want to lose the integrity of the word. We still want to be able to read it. But how cute is that? That looks really, really fun. Let me bring it a little closer. There we go. See how you can see all those little bubbles and textures? Just makes it fun. And again, I could put little dots like I did on the first one around on the snowflakes, but I'm just going to keep that so that the holidays stand out. All right, moving right along. So with this one here, I've created a really simple, card. I've used my inverted corner punch here just to give a different look to my squares and my rectangles. And I pulled out one of our Sizzix dies that makes this beautiful wreath. It's really super fun, and it actually kind of surprised me because this is showing 2 layers on that wreath. It is actually only one die that I ended up cutting it 3 times. I did it twice in the darker color and once in the lighter color, and then you just rotate each one a little bit. So that it gives all those layers and makes it look like a really nice full wreath. Thank you, Kathy. I really like how that holidays turned out, and it just gives you some dimension and some interest. And people are going to be like, how did you do that? So anyway, to go with this wreath, I cut a little bow, but I will add that when I get ready to add it to my card. I am going to use this wreath, and I'm going to use the fluffy stuff just to make some little snow accents on the wreath. I am going to grab my tweezers for this one because it's very delicate and I do not want to burn my fingers. I'm just grabbing my tweezers from my sculpting kit. For something like this, I like that reverse action tweezer. So these ones are closed to begin with, and when you squeeze, it opens and then let go. I just feel it's going to give me a much better grab, and I'm not going to burn my fingers. So with this one, this time, you know how I said last time, don't drag it? This time I'm actually going to have you drag, or have myself drag. I just want little bits on these leaves here. I don't want a blob. I don't want anything too perfect. It's just gonna look like snow. And I mean, in theory, you could just leave it with the white, but what's the fun in that? Okay, so I've just kind of squirted and dragged it on some of those leaves there. And now I'm going to heat it up. There we go. See, the heat's even warping my little mats here. Let's see if I can bring it up closer. You can see how it's just all over those little leaves and gives you that really fun look of snow. And now I'm simply going to attach it here to the front of my card. Where I had my tweezers is where I'm going to put my bow, because I don't have a lot of snow there. And I am going to be careful about applying this because I don't want to smush any of that snow. You could put this on foam squares if you wanted to, the micro squares, but I'm just going to use some of my collage medium. And use my tweezers to kind of poke it down in between. Just until it sets. There we go. Yeah, not falling off. For the back of my bow, I am going to grab a foam square. Or dot, as the case may be. And even with the bow, what I did is I cut two, and that was partially by mistake. And I just layered it and I just glued it in the center so that I can pop up those little bunny ears for some extra dimension. Lots and lots of tips and tricks. Okay, so that's just going on the back. This is gonna go here. And there we have a snowy wreath with fluffy stuff. So that's example number 3. I've got one more left to show you. This is a simple Christmas tree that, once again, using a die to cut that shape. This is actually the Christmas tree die that goes with the shaker domes, but I just used it to cut a basic Christmas tree, and it will eventually go on there. I do want, sometimes, you know, some of these ones I've done right on the card even though it's done, but you know what, so if you don't want to take the risk, definitely create your piece before you stick it down. That way, if you do have to redo it, you don't have to worry about ruining your whole card. So this one, I am just going to make some garland, and I'm going to do it in dots. Just kind of going down. The tree, one more row. And you know what, let's maybe put a little bit of snow at the top here and a little bit on the edges. Just want to see what this is going to look like. Now, if you wanted some of these to be glitter and some of them not to be glitter, then I recommend doing the glitter one first and setting it, and then going back in and doing the non-glitter. Since I've got all of these already on there, they're all gonna get glitter. I'm just gonna add a little bit more on these little corners there. All right, let me grab some scrap paper. So that my glitter does not get everywhere. Let's get this guy up. And yeah, let's just keep using the rock candy because it's so pretty. I'm just gonna give a little sprinkle. You could use colored glitter. Just make sure it gets everywhere. There we go. lots of glitter, because at Christmas time, there's no such thing as too much glitter. I'm going to tap it off. Get as much of that excess off. Yeah, it's got a good little shine to it. And let me pour this back into my container. Now, if you want something a little bit chunkier, Lawn Fawn has this really awesome chunky glitter. It has a little bit more of that holographic look to it. Any of those would work. You just, like I said, you want this to go on wet so that it holds that glitter for you. And here's the noise. Perfect. So now not only do I have glitter, but I've got these puffy little balls that are going to look so cute when I put it here on this card. And in actuality, I think, will the glitter rub off after it is set? It really shouldn't. It is set right into the liquid and then all the puffiness happens. So I don't think you should have any issue with the glitter coming off. It's set right in there, just as if you were applying it with glue. So I'm gonna let this cool. I'm not gonna mess with it and glue it down yet, because, you know, who knows? I don't want to smush any of my little puff balls. But there you have it. That is the basics of fluffy stuff. It all comes down to application and then heat. Mary was asking about the glitter. Let's go back to this one here. Yeah, no, the glitter's not flaking off at all. I'm making a mess of because it's still not completely set, but the glitter is not coming off. So I don't think you have to worry about that too much. So, some great ideas as to how to use fluffy stuff just in its basic everyday form. Why am I missing a card? There's my other card here. And it's just fun to play with. It's really addictive. And like I said, you could use it for marshmallows in the summertime. If you are doing teddy bears, you could use that to fill in a teddy bear space and make him all puffy. Polar bears, all that good stuff. Like I said, the key is applying the heat, moving it around, and then leaving it to set. Leave it overnight, don't touch it, don't play with it, and then by morning you should be as good as gold to move on to the next step in your creating. So thank you so much for joining me tonight for our first Fluffy Stuff Learning Live. Like I said, next week Alexis is up, and I know she's already got some Avriel stamps picked out that she's going to play with and show you some great techniques. And when in doubt, just grab it, grab some scrap paper like I've got over here, and just play. You really don't have anything to lose. So that's it for me. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday evening. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night right here at 7 for What's New. I will already give you the heads up that my What's New bin is overflowing. Lots of good stuff to show you. We also have some class announcements that will be coming out tomorrow night and then Thursday in the newsletter. And we will see you here online and in the store if you pop by. And that's it. Have a good night, everyone.